Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. I have two little petty comeuppance stories for you today, so let's jump into it, shall we? Be a jerk? Then you don't get the house. This is my father's story, told with his permission. I wanted to brag about my dad's decision to stick it to a jerk. My grandparents built, then lived in the same home since the early 70s. It has 5 acres and was a small-scale farm for their family growing up. They both passed away within a month of each other several months ago. Their kids, my parents, aunts, and uncles didn't need the home, and none of their kids, my siblings, cousins, nor I could afford it. It was in a trust, so all siblings needed to agree to make the price, etc. Most just wanted it to be sold quickly so they could move on with their lives. They spent a couple months cleaning the property and house up, repairing anything minor, then put it on the market. Comparables estimated the property over $850K, but it did need more work. Roof replaced, and some cosmetic work on the foundation. Wiring was updated back in the early 2000s. There were a couple people showing interest, but no serious offers for a couple months. So we dropped the price down to around $830K since there was a little work needed to be done. Enter the most scuzzy realtor/buyer. He wanted it, but his wife really wanted it. They had put their house in a more urban setting with a small fraction of an acre on the market and were under contract and basically guaranteed the same of their house for an obscene amount of money, according to my father. I forgot to ask how much their realtor found out it sold for. They negotiated down to $740K and everyone accepted. Sad to see it go to someone outside the family, but what do you do? Nobody could afford it or needed that much property. He represented himself as his realtor, which would mean he gets a percentage of the final price at the end of it all. I understand it's not technically illegal in our state, but it's kind of BS in my opinion. Then he started asking for a reduced price for many things. Things like the cost of taking the outbuildings down, a horse corral, horse tack shed, greenhouse, and disconnected garage that was set up as a workshop, saying they were all a hazard and he shouldn't have to pay for them coming down. They passed building codes, they just didn't look perfect cosmetically on the outside. Just one example of many. We just wanted to move on with our lives, but after we would accept an offer, he would then ask for more and drive the cost lower. Eventually, it got down to nearly below $600K. He had about $3K tied up in escrow to purchase it, and his deadline for closing on the house or losing that money was approaching. But he kept asking for more. Because he kept negotiating, he passed his deadline to get his money back. Asked for $580K. Then my father snapped, and I've never seen him snap. I've never seen him get petty, but I'm glad he did. He called a nephew who has horses, but wanted more property for adequate training and riding space. Couldn't afford what it was actually worth, so he had passed on it before. My father asked if they would qualify for the last accepted price, just over $600K, and they did. So they declined Realtor Dude's offer and said, "Never mind, we won't sell it to you," through their realtor, of course. So the jerk loses his $3K, doesn't get the house, and doesn't have a home at all. He apparently really thought he would get my grandpa's house, so his house was closed on, and he would have to move out very soon. To say he was pissed is an understatement. Our poor realtor had to be the gatekeeper, but she at least took satisfaction in pointing out to him that this was his own fault that he didn't get the house. We have to wait until the realtor guy signs the termination paperwork, which he's delaying since that was all he has left to try and stick it to our family. But Grandpa's house is staying in the family once that final date passes, less than a week left. My parents may not have sold the house for what it was worth, but it was worth sticking it to that guy. Screw him. Update: the jerk gave up and signed the paperwork yesterday, so my cousin will begin the buying process on Monday. Oh man, love this. Good faith has a limit, and I love when greedy, cocky people get their just desserts. I can honestly hear the conversation that guy had with his wife. No, no, no. Let's get the price even lower. What are they gonna do, honey? Not sell it to me? Ha ha ha. Then, once they didn't sell it to him, I'm sure his wife was fuming. So, the guy got double karma, really. I'm so glad that not only did they not sell it to that asshat, but they kept the property in the family, which is great. A mortgage lender snubbed me, so I snubbed him back. A few years ago, when I was buying a house, I went to several lenders to get the best deal and rate. I have a credit score in the 800s and quite a bit saved, so I'm getting good offers. I'd also set up a spreadsheet to compare offers and calculate which would best suit my needs. Most lenders were happy to describe interest rates, points, etc., so I could do my calculations. Most offers were very similar. According to my math, my shopping around would only save me a few $100s over the life of the loan. And that's fine. Doing the math to verify things has value. However, one lender I called had this frustratingly rude representative. He's from a company I'll call Slickin' Loans, and our conversation went something like this. What do you want out of your loan? He asks. I've answered this question like 10 times for other lenders, so I start to explain. I want the best rate and to save money in the long term. Well, you're a pretty standard first home buyer. You're going to need to make yourself stand out as a borrower. I'm sorry, what? Everybody wants the best rate, he says. It's the first thing anyone asks for. No kidding. That's basic. We've got tons of people asking for loans. What's going to make you stand out? Just tell me your rate, I say. I have to give him some information for him to calculate it. Then he gives a number that is 0.1% higher than the other offers I've gotten. That would cost about $15,000 in the long run, after adjusting for inflation. There is now literally zero chance I'll go with Slickin' Loans. I thank him and end the call. Well, I went with a different lender. We were moving fast, so within 2 weeks, I've gotten approved for my loan, and I'm just waiting to close on the house. Everything is all set to go, when the Slickin' Loans scumbag calls me back. So, I'm calling you to get started on the loan we talked about, he says. I went with a different lender. What? Who? His voice has this quaver in it. Like maybe he's lost the last 5 borrowers he's talked to, and his performance review is coming up or something. Someone who gave me a better rate. I have no interest in giving him details. Well, we can flex on the rate. Can you? That's unfortunate, I reply. You really should have done more to make yourself stand out as a lender. He sputters about trying to match the other offer, and I tell him to pound sand. Sure, getting a mortgage is hard these days, but honestly, with the audacity that D-bag had, I would rather rent for the rest of my life than take a loan from that guy. That's how petty I am. Glad it all worked out for OP though. Anyway, that is all for me today. I hope you enjoyed these 2 petty revenge stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!